All right, so this is gamification with Kahoot, Quizzizz, and Quizlet Live. We're going to go through these three tools. I'm going to give you a little intro into how they work, why you might want to use them, some of the pros and cons of each one of the options, and then hopefully I'm going to give you some time to get in there and work and play with them and be able to answer some questions. I'm Amy Webb. I work here at Fairmont. I teach here. I teach family and consumer science classes. And I'll have my email up on the last slide. So if you ever have any questions about any of these tools, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll be glad to help. All right, so first of all, some benefits of gamification and bringing games into the classroom. First of all, it crosses all subject areas. You can use it in math, use social studies, family consumer science, all age groups, elementary level, all the way up through high school and beyond. There are limitless uses, so you can use it for introducing new subjects and new material. Student-led projects where they can create some of these tools themselves. Homework, review, assessments, and more. Lots of student engagement. This is a great way. The kids get excited. They really enjoy the gamification, the tools that I'm going to show you today, and they pay attention, which is important. It's fun, collaborative, and competitive. The competitive piece really plays in getting them excited because they earn points and there's leaderboards and it's fun and interactive there. It's also an easy formative assessment for teachers. You can quickly see how many students are getting your concepts. And I'll show you some of that in some of the reports. All three of the tools that you're going to see today work on a normal web browser on all devices, whether it's iOS or Android. They have mobile apps as well that the students can download. I know here at the high school level, sometimes when Chromebooks are dead, students will use their phones, and that's available with all three of these options. Plus, they all three give immediate feedback. Of course, the John Hattie influences, I threw those in there. Some of the things that are positively correlated with student learning. All right, so I've got a little intro video. We're going to do Kahoot first, and then I'll talk about some of the basics of Kahoot and some pros and cons, but let's watch the video first.
Hi, we're Kahoot. We're on a mission to make learning awesome. Our game-based learning platform is used by millions of people all over the world. Teachers, students, company employees, and lifelong learners. Kahoot makes it easy to create fun learning games or trivia quizzes in minutes, anytime, anywhere. We call them Kahoots. It works for any subject, in any language, on any device. You can also discover and play existing games. There are millions of Kahoots in our library. Kahoot can be played in a live setting with questions on a big screen or on a mobile device where you see questions and answers on one screen. As well as in schools, Kahoot is played in companies, at events, and even parties to make learning awesome. Sign up today at Kahoot.com. Let's play!
Okay, so that's just a little intro teaser as to what Kahoot's about. It is Kahoot.com. Feel free to get your devices out and log in if you haven't been on Kahoot. It's nice and easy to make an account, and they are free for teachers. There are different levels of Kahoot, and some of the feature, the levels that you can purchase obviously give you more features, but you'll see some of that here in a minute when I show you some screenshots. With Kahoot, in the classic mode, the questions are projected on the teacher's computer. So you see those up on the screen. The whole class is answering every question at the same time. So the question is up there. The students have the answer choices, the color codes that go with the answer choices, and they choose their answers. They earn more points for answering correctly as well as quickly. So we're not just looking for the correct answer, but there's a time limit on those. The leaderboard is projected after each question, so you'll see how many students missed the question or got it right, and then it will show who is winning as far as points, which brings in that competitive edge. The thing that I like about Kahoot and the fact that you're going question by question is it gives you time to go back and reteach anything. You can say, all right, 6 students missed this. I'm going to discuss it a little bit more so that I can figure out why they missed this and correct that. At the end of the game, when you get through all of your questions, there's a podium that is projected up on the screen. It gives you your top 3 players. And I give Jolly Ranchers, so prizes for games can be incorporated there to increase their engagement. With Kahoot, there's multiple question types. All of the questions require at least 2 to 4 answers to choose from. There are several different ways that you can play. There are 2 basic game modes, classic or team, but there's also a third option where you can post a challenge, and this is where the students work on their own devices. It can be given as homework. I've done this as a quiz review before, where they can go back and re-look at some of those questions that we did in class. All right, some pros and cons with Kahoot. You heard in the video, there's catchy music. There's the basic tune. You may have heard that in the hallway coming from a teacher's class. The students know that music, but it's kind of fun. There are options to choose from, so you can tailor the music. I played Kahoot on Halloween this past year and last semester, and there's this creepy version of that same tune that is kind of neat. So you can toggle that, and I'll show you in the options menu where that is. The questions can contain images, GIFs, YouTube videos, and text. So you've got some multimedia options that you can put in there. The questions, you can toggle the time limits anywhere from 5 seconds all the way up to 4 minutes. And you can do that question by question. So if you have a question that's going to take a little bit longer, maybe a little bit more text or some thought or some calculation, then you can toggle that to a longer time limit. There's lots of game options. I'll show you that here in a few minutes. There's an answer streak bonus, so if they answer several questions in a row, they'll earn more points. One of the things with Kahoot is you do need to be concise because there are character limits on the questions. The questions are limited to 120 characters and the answers to 75. So it takes some creative wording sometimes to get that concise, but there's also a way around that, being able to, you can insert a slide in between questions that you can put more text on, or a video that they need to see before they answer the question, or whatever you need to do there. Noise level. All right, so students get engaged, they get excited, they get competitive, and the classroom can get a little rowdy from time to time. So you want to make sure, with your classroom management, that you set your expectations that, in between questions, we're going to talk about it. I need you guys to be quiet, that whatever. Inappropriate names. So students are able to choose their own nicknames in there's a friendly nickname generator that you can use if it becomes a problem. I haven't had a whole lot of issues. Students are usually pretty respectful, but if there's an inappropriate name, all you have to do is click on that student's name. It will kick it back out to them, and they will have to choose a new name. But you can also use the optional friendly nickname generator that gives them like Friendly Penguin or something like that. They're kind of silly, but they're fun.
My kids actually have fun with what their name is, and others in the class are trying to figure out who is winning, because maybe they thought you call themselves Moose or something like
right.
that. And then they're always going, well, who is Moose? And
right.
So it makes even more competition.
Yeah. It's kind of fun. I've had students put in like emojis and things like that as their names as well, and you'll see that on one of my screenshots. But the one thing that is with them choosing their own names is that if you don't know who that student is, you can go back and you'll see on our reports, if they missed a lot of questions, you may not know who that student is to be able to go back and look at that. And I'll show you that if they don't actually use their name. I've had one issue with bots spamming my game, and it crashed my game. This is one of the things, especially at the high school level, students who are tech savvy are figuring out the ins and outs of how to invite bots or invite students from other classes. They'll text the join code to their friend who will join your game who is not in the room, and that can cause problems. So I had this happen once last semester. And I coordinated with Kahoot, talked to them, and there is an enable two-step join option. And I'll show you what that looks like, but that allows that they have to put in a 4-color code, and it's projected up on the board, and it changes every few seconds. So they have to be sitting here, and it constantly changes, so they have to do that to be able to join. Once they put in the game code and their name, they have to do that, and I'll show you. All right, so this is your basic Kahoot dashboard. You've got your, up at the top, your home, discover, Kahoots, and reports. So you'll see some things there that I've played with, and I'll give you you guys are gonna get to do that one here in just a few minutes. If you want to search for an existing Kahoot, there are millions out there that you don't have to create on your own, and there's some really good ones. So you can go up to Discover there. You can search either by keyword, but there's also good collections that Kahoot has put together for any of your subject areas. There are trending or top picks. You know, with Black History Month, you'll see Rosa Parks, Black History Month, Kahoots there that are trending right now. So there's lots of ways to search. When you create a Kahoot, you can add questions. There are different question types, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But this is where you put your question. You can put images or YouTube links there, your answer choices. This is where you toggle your time limit, and you can also, adjust how many points that question is worth there. All right, so this is question types. Now, the Family Consumer Science Department has purchased Kahoot Pro, so I do have access to puzzle and poll, which are more advanced question types. I believe the main basic Kahoot, you have quiz, true, false, and slide. The puzzle option allows you to put things in the students have to put things in chronological order. So that could be really useful in a history classroom or something like that. Poll, you'll get to see some of those questions because I'm going to have you guys do a poll at the very end of this session. All right, so when you find a Kahoot or you create one and you want to use it in class, this is the main Kahoot page of your quiz. You've got the questions over here. There's the play option, the challenge option. That's where it presents it as a challenge where the student does it at their own pace, which is kind of a neat, and you can actually post that on Google Classroom and post the link to that on Google Classroom. The 3 dots here give you some more options. You can share that Kahoot. You can edit it and go back into your edit menu with that. All right, so once you hit play, then you have your game options. So there's classic and team mode. Classic is when you are when students have their own devices and they are competing against each other. Team mode would be if you divide the class into 2 different teams and you want them to collaborate to come up with the correct answer. This is the rest of the game options. If you open up this menu, this pops up. So you've got personalized learning where they can go back and practice. There's your friendly nickname generator. This is where you can toggle the lobby music to change it to different types. You can randomize questions and answers. There's your 2-step join to keep any outside class students or bots from entering your game. All right, so once you choose your option, I chose Classic on this, which is what I typically use in a review game in class. It will give you the join code. This is what students will go to on their device. So they can either log in at kahoot.it on a web browser or with the Kahoot app, and it will ask them for that code. The pattern right here is that two-step join. This is what that looks like. So you'll see here, this is how many seconds it has left. They would have to put that, enter on their device, orange, green, red, blue, and then it would let them join the game. It adds a little bit of time to the join, but if I use this with my one class that I had an issue with, just so that we don't have to restart the game after a crash. All right, so you play the game, you can stop between questions and talk about them, and then with the reports, this is what it looks like. And you'll see, this is a Kahoot that I played last semester. You can see their nicknames. All right, I have a few that had their actual names in there, and then I've got some fun ones. The accuracy, so this is how many questions they got correct, the percentage, and then their final score. You'll see I've got 3 that got 77% of the questions correct, but they have different scores because they entered in different time limits. All right, so Jingleheimer here got more points because they answered more quickly. All right, another cool option is that you can identify students who need help. So you'll see here I had some students that didn't score very well, and here's some of your emojis. Okay, so their accuracy was much lower. You can identify who these students are and then touch base with them to see why they didn't understand or get those questions correct. You can also see difficult questions, so questions that a large percentage of the class missed in your reports. And then a nice little graph of the student progress. You can see there Ian didn't miss a question. All right. That's the basics of Kahoot. If you're interested in learning more, I do have, this will be shared, this will be in a shared folder for you guys, but I have a more in-depth video, a tutorial of how to create a quiz and host a quiz. And then I've got links there to the Help and Support Center, and there is a teacher certification course that Kahoot has started where you can get certified, and it is free. Questions on Kahoot?
Where did you get the reports from? Are those emailed to you, or you clicked
No, they are on, if you go back to here, you have your reports tab up there on your screen. Yep.
Now the
Good question.
registration number, each student gets that when they register, and that's their Kahoot number forever?
No, when you start a game, you're talking about this one?
Yes.
That's going to change every time you start a new game. So even by class period, it's going to be different. It's just a random generated number that they have to put in to join that live game right now.
So that's for everyone?
Yeah.
For that game? It's a game
Yes.
registration?
Yes, so that you'll put that up on the board like this, and if you were students in this class, you would get on to kahoot.it, put that code in, and you would be in my game. And your name would show up down here in my players where it says waiting for players.
So is it cumulative as far as if you've got like 5 Kahoots on there for your subject matter, is there a way that those all tie together cumulatively?
No, they're independent.
All right.
Yep, good question though.
Look at each class
Right.
of how that class is getting material or not.
Good.
That's like the advantage of doing every class a separate one.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's go on to the next one. We're going to talk about quizzes. Okay, let's watch our video.
Quizzizz helps teachers save time. Here's how it works. First, create a new quiz, or mix and match millions of teacher-created questions. Next, students play at their own pace, in class or at home. Every learner competes to improve, and retakes are a cinch. While students play, Quizzizz handles the grading. Instantly, you see what each student has mastered, know where they can improve, and share their progress with tools like Google Classroom. Find a quiz now. It's free.
Okay, so basics with Quizzizz. It has a lot of the same features as Kahoot, but it's student-driven. It's student-led. The students are working at their own pace on their own devices. They're all competing at the same time. They're taking the same questions, but very often in a different order. okay, on their own devices. The leaderboard is the only thing that's projected up on the teacher's computer. So you don't have the question up here, which makes it nice for, students don't have to sit up at the front of the room to be able to see the screen. It's all projected right on their own device. They work on their own pace, but still compete. So it's still going to show if a student is answering more quickly and going through more correct questions, they're going to take the lead on the leaderboard. Same thing as Kahoot, they do earn more points for answering correctly as well as quickly. There are 3 different game modes that are very similar to Kahoot, but this one does incorporate really well into Google Classroom. There's a link to just post it so they can click straight onto that since it's on their own devices. Some pros and cons of Quizzizz. Again, there's catchy music, but with this one you can actually turn the music off if you wish without having to mute your computer. The questions can contain images, GIFs, sound clips, and math formulas, which might be nice for some of you math people. With Quizzizz, they've incorporated fun memes and images in between questions. They pop up in between those questions as the students are working. It's kind of fun. They have meme collections that you can choose from, and you can tailor that to what you want it to be. The questions are limited to multiple choice and poll. One of the downfalls of this compared to Kahoot is that you don't have that teachable moment in between questions where you can see, 6 students missed this question, we better talk about this for a minute. Because they're working at their own pace and they're going to have different questions at different times, you don't have that until the end when you see your reports. With this, the noise level is probably more of a pro because you don't have, even though they're competing, they're on their own devices, they're working through the questions at their own pace, so that noise level may not get as rowdy as it can with Kahoot or Quizlet Live, which we'll see next. Another pro of Quizzizz is it does have accessibility features. Like language support, image zoom, and read aloud, so students can use their headphones and be able to have any of those accommodations for IEPs or 504s or anything that they need for that. The Quizzizz library, there are millions of quizzes that are available to choose from. You can search for those and use those just like you can with Kahoot, but there's an added benefit that you can use a teleport option to mix and match questions. So you can pull questions from several different public quizzes and create your own. And I played with this and it's very easy to use. You can add any questions that you like from quizzes that are already there to create your new one. So you can customize that, which is a definite benefit. So here's your basic dashboard. You'll see right there up at the top, find a quiz to search for one or create one. You can search, again, by topic. There's recommended. I did a search for some personal financial management stuff, and so it's tailoring those to me with banking and checking and savings accounts, etc. You've got your quizzes and reports and everything over here. You can create classes on Quizzizz because it does incorporate into Google Classroom. You can import a class, and those students will automatically get an invitation to join Quizzizz, and then they can work through quizzes as you add them into your classroom. When you host a game, so you have these options right here, a live game. You can do homework, which is very like the challenge feature on Kahoot, where they have it to do on their own device, on their own time. And then there's also a solo practice option where they can just practice. There are 3 basic game modes, which again are very similar to Kahoot. You've got your team, your classic, and then test, which is a little no frills, where you can actually do assessment, where they actually log in, and that is recorded for assessment purposes. So you play your game, the students work on at their own pace, and then are when the game is over, this is what you get up on the screen. You will see student progress. I only had one student on this one, but the live dashboard is kind of neat because it gives you the toughest question and the longest question. So which question did they really have to think about or weren't quite sure of the answer? So those are some options that you have there. But you also see the overview. You can go question by question. You can also link those questions to standards, so you can see how they're doing on specific standards if you have that programmed in there. You can go back and review with, you can view the quiz and go back as a class afterwards and review through any questions that were tough. And you can also use the flashcard option. You can view data by player, question, or standard, like I said. So that's on the basic review, or basic report. So you have that on your live dashboard, but then you can go back in later and view that more detailed report. Okay, so that's the basics of Quizzizz. I have a more in-depth tutorial video here if you're interested to go back and look at that and see how that works, and some more teacher resources. Questions on this one?
Much as a question is just an observation. In the summer, I coach in a program called First Tee, which is golf. And I can just see how this is going to be perfect for that.
Oh, good. Okay.
Assuming I'm going to have to do a lot of work, I think, scanning in pictures of like a fairway and a trap. And you ask, I mean, everybody thinks you teach golf with a golf club and a golf ball. There's a lot of mental application
Right.
to golf, like, you know, the rules and the new rules and what do you do and what do you know, like, I can just see that this is going to be great because you have individuals. And now we say, delete, you got to leave your phone in your backpack. And I'm going like, no, this year you're going to take your phone out of your backpack.
Yeah. And all three of these tools do have image galleries that you can choose from, and you can search, and you can bring in pictures from the web, whatever, for those. Yes.
They have a paper test. All I have to do is convert those over to.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Then when you say this is tied to Google now, and there's one thing that you guys do, and then I'll just speak from a substitute perspective. You know, we have absolutely no access to your Google Classroom, and I'm not saying we should have, but we don't. So the students will be on things that we don't even know is there. And then the other thing is that you have your Go Guardians, which, you know, you'll be watching. A lot of times you'll be watching your student from home or wherever you are. And but you know, will this monitor that they're on task, just like the?
I don't believe so. You know, when you're hosting a live game, you know, the students are choosing their questions and answers right there, and it's projecting up. The leaderboard is projecting up onto the board. Now, if you're doing the, I'm going backwards. Sorry. If you're doing the test or the, you know, that's where you would assign it, and that one they would have to log in, so they'd probably be less limited or more limited into what else they're going to be doing. But yeah.
You won't know the difference if you're standing in front of class.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Good question.
What I do is when
Yeah.
they're on Kahoot, I walk around the back of their screen.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they'll have another tab up and they're doing something else in between the questions.
Multitasking. Yes, that happens.
Tabs. You know, I go back through and make them get rid of their other tabs. But
Yeah.
there's no monitor.
And that's just classroom management. You know, we all fight with those issues.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about the last one. Let me go back to my video. This is Quizlet Live. A lot of you may be familiar with Quizlet, but this is another option on how to play Quizlet as a live classroom interactive game. And this one has some differences from Quizzizz and Kahoot.
Meet Quizlet Live, the easy-to-use classroom game that blends competition and collaboration to engage every student in learning. Quizlet Live groups students into teams that must work together to win. While teams are prompted with the same set of questions, each teammate sees different possible answers, and only one person per team has the match. Students need to communicate to choose the correct answer and move forward in the game. As they play, the teacher's screen acts as an interactive leaderboard, tracking each team's progress and adding fire to the competition. If a team answers incorrectly, they go all the way back to the start, so choosing simply for speed won't work. Instead, the stronger their teamwork, the faster they'll go. And the first team to correctly answer all questions in a row wins. When the game ends, the teacher can lead a class review, or easily start a new round to give students another chance at glory. To play, you'll need an internet connection, one device per student, a teacher-controlled computer, and a way to project. Start by logging into your Quizlet account and choosing a study set. Select Live to generate a game code, then project your screen so your class can see. Have students open the Quizlet app or go to quizlet.live in their browser. After they enter the code, they can add their name to join the game. Everyone in? Your students will be instantly grouped into teams. If possible, ask them to get up to sit with their teammates. When they're settled, start the game and let the fun begin. Quizlet Live. Competition, collaboration, ultimate student engagement. Free for all teachers on Quizlet.
Okay, so Quizlet Live basics. Quizlet.com, so it's the regular Quizlet website, but Live is one of the options that you have to choose from. It does use the flashcard study sets just from your regular Quizlets, but it creates it into an interactive live game. This is the option that is more collaborative because, as you saw in the video, the students work in teams and only one student has the correct answer. So it forces them to talk, discuss, and share to come up with that correct answer. All right, so it's not just individuals competing against each other. You have the team modes in Kahoot and Quizizz, but very often if you would use that, we have that one student who knows the right answers and they're just going to kind of take charge and you may lose the rest of the group, where this really makes them collaborate. And that's one of the real strengths of Quizlet Live that I've seen. So each student has different answers, so they really have to collaborate. If they miss a question, they go all the way back to 0 on the leaderboard. So that's more incentive to really discuss and get the correct answer. The team progress chart is projected on the teacher's computer, so you'll see that the leaderboard up there on the big screen. But that's the only thing that you will see. Okay, some pros and cons. You can create a study set or use study sets that are already there. Quizlet's been around for a while and there's lots of things that you can use on there. And the collaborative option is really a benefit of this. You do have to have 2 to 4 students in each team, so it will create different teams depending on your class size, on what you need, but you need to have at least 4 students in order to play this. The questions can contain images, GIFs, and text. Again, we've got the catchy music. This one I don't think you can toggle on and off, so you'd have to mute your computer if you don't want it. One of the limitations with this is it is limited to digital flashcards. So you need a definition and a term, or a question and an answer to create those answer sets. So there's some limits to that as far as adapting that. Especially one of the things that I saw in some of my research was in the math classroom. You have to make sure that you have different answers for each one of the questions. You can't have 2 questions that have the answer of 1.5 because then they can get those wrong. So you've got to be careful with the questions that you put into those digital flashcards. Noise level, of course, collaboration again can cause lots of discussion. So your noise level can get high in between, through those questions and through the live game. Students do get to pick their own name on Quizlet Live, so again, you've got that chance of inappropriate names. They don't have the friendly nickname generator like Kahoot, but it's nice and easy to click on the name, it kicks it out, it shows up on the student's screen and says you need to choose a new name. And of course, with Quizlet, anybody who's used it, there's a lot of other options on how to play Quizlet. So if you have a student who is struggling or who didn't do well in the Quizlet, a team that didn't do well, they can go back and review using some of those other options on Quizlet. All right, so here is your basic dashboard on Quizlet. Again, your search and your create to be able to use either one as far as already created Quizlets, or you can create your own. When you want to create a study set, and this can be used in any of the game modes, not just live, you'll do your title up here, and then you've got room for your term and your definition. And then you can add images as well for each one of the options. And then there are some options up here to be able to toggle it so that you can change the order of the term or the definition as far as how they show up. And there's an example of the bottom. I was creating one for loan fundamentals, and you just hit add a card to add as many as you want there. And there's some formatting options as well. You can share on Google Classroom, but this is just the basic Quizlet options. So that would be for review and those kind of things, for practice on those terms. The live game, obviously, you would have to play live in class. All right, so if you want to host a Quizlet live game, you're going to pick your Quizlet, your set, okay, pick any set. This example was US presidents. You have all of the different options, and you will choose live. This is the screen that would project up on the screen so that students can add. The video is outdated. The Quizlet.com/live is where the students would go on their web browser. Quizlet.live doesn't work anymore. So this is the code that they would put in. If you have students who, and you allow them to use their phones, the mobile app allows you to scan the QR code. So they could just put their phone up, scan this QR code right here, and it takes them straight into the game without having to enter the code. All right, and then Quizlet just goes ahead and divides your students into their own teams. You don't have to do that. You don't have control of those. They're randomized, so they will divide it up into teams, and then they will start playing. So you'll see here, this is what you would see on 3 different student devices. Only one student has the correct answer. So Matt, Brian, and you would have to coordinate and figure out which answer is correct. And this is what would show up on the teacher's screen as far as the leaderboard. After the game, it does give you the option to go back and look at questions that were confused or terms that were mixed up. So here it says Abraham Lincoln, initially confused with James Buchanan. So you can see which ones they mixed up or answered incorrectly and go back and review those. All right, so again, a more in-depth tutorial video if you're interested at a later date to learn a little bit more. There's a new teacher guide and lots of teacher resources on the Quizlet website and a help center as well. So I have links for those for you. Questions about Quizlet Live?
Okay, I have one question.
Uh-huh.
So if you're using the basic Quizlet
Yep.
flashcards or the set,
Mm-hmm.
can you use that for the same one for the live, and then the students can still use it, say, for infant work?
Yes, yes. So you could play it live in class, and then you could post it to Google Classroom for them to be able to go in and do gravity or match or any of the other Quizlet options.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, so we've got like 5 or 10 minutes left. I want to give you some time to explore, get on your devices and look and search for any Kahoots quizzes, or Quizlet sets that you might be able to use in class, or play with the create option on any of the 3, and give you some time to look at those. Before you leave today, I would like for you to play my gamification Kahoot. I created a poll for you guys so that you can see how to play this. The join code is 0383856, so you would just go to kahoot.it on your web browser, or if you have the Kahoot app, you can open that up and put the join code. There are just 4 simple questions there for you. And I have my email up there. If you have any questions on these 3 tools, feel free to email me anytime. I'd be glad to help. And of course, with gamification, I can't not offer prizes. So I've got Jolly Ranchers and Mints up here if you would like a prize for being here at Gamification. All right? And if you have questions, I'll be glad to help as you're looking at stuff.